Merry Christmas everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I'm going to show you how I made this really fantastic looking snowman out of scrap materials.
Okay, so I had some scrap wood, as you can see there. I've got a topper from a fence post and a few pallet blocks, and I'm going to try and make something out of this. So that's going to be the head, and I also want the bottom part to form a hat, and then the blocks will be the body. So firstly I just sanded everything down just to take off the sharp edges, make it a little bit softer, and I used an 80 grit sandpaper for this. And I then wanted to make a base, so I took a piece of pallet wood again and just roughly measured out how big I wanted the base to be, and I cut that on the miter saw. Then I just quickly routed over the edge. And I routed the edges of the blocks as well, just to soften everything up. And then I give everything another sanding down again. So this bottom part of the fence topper, you can see it's been covered in glue in the past, so I cut that off. And then I had this piece of like a wooden pole, and I cut a piece off this to form the top of the hat. And I wanted to give the snowman a nose and make it look like a carrot, so I took this thick hardwood dowel and then I drilled a hole in the face to accommodate the dowel, and I then just shaved off the end to make it look more like a carrot. So then I added some glue. And now I wanted to add the hat on, so I did the same again. I added a dowel to the head and to the neck to hold it onto the body. And I've got a marker there with some tape on the drill bit, just to know how deep I'm going. And then I added plenty of glue and some sawdust. And squeezed it all together, and just found the centre there of the top of the body and made a hole for the dowel. I used dowels because it was quite awkward to get screws in because of the shapes. But later on I did actually add a screw and countersunk it, just to keep everything nicely tight, ready for the glue to dry. And I'm doing the same here for the bottom, plenty of glue. Just mixing some sawdust in as well, just help to bond everything together nicely. And I clamped it up, and as I say, I did add a couple of screws as well later on, just to make it extra secure. I also used a bit of filler just to fill any holes and imperfections in the wood. And I took some sawdust from the sander, mixed it with some glue. And just filled any rough cracks in. Now it was time to attach the base on. So I made sure that the snowman was central, just using engineering square, and I marked it up. And I added 4 screws and glued it as well. So I wanted to add some arms, so I took a few twigs from a tree in the garden, and then I removed the bark, and this would just help everything to bond together when I added it to the body. I then gave them a sanding down. So now I drilled some holes in the sides of the body at an angle, so the arms would be like upright, and you'll see that in a moment. I then mixed up some more of this wood filler, plenty of glue and very fine sawdust, and added it all to the hole and to around the arm, and pushed it in nice and tight. Once that was done, I wanted to add some eyes, so I thought using dowels would be a good idea here, as I had plenty of spare dowels. So I drilled holes again, glued, and added the dowels in. And I cut off the excess with a hacksaw. So now I wanted to add the mouth. I just marked with a marker pen where I wanted the coal pieces to be, the coal effect. And then I drilled out holes, and I would later paint these holes black. So after giving it all a good sanding down, it was time to add a base coat of white paint. So I added 2 coats of white paint to all the areas that needed to be white. I then painted the hat with some black paint and gave that 2 coats. So I then painted the eyes. And then the mouth. I mixed up some orange paint with some red and yellow and painted the nose. And I put the paint on nice and thick to give it the texture to look more like a carrot. And I then painted the twig arms with some brown paint. I then painted the base with some metallic paint, metallic bronze, to make it look Christmassy. And I wanted to add some buttons to the front, and these are just old buttons that I had lying around. To attach them, I used some small panel pins And that grey one at the top actually cracked later on, so I had to replace it, and you can see there it's now a different button, but all the rest were fine. Now I wanted to add some blushed cheeks, so I mixed up some pink with some red and white, and then I stippled it on in a circular motion. Now I wanted to add some glittery paint to the whole thing. And once that was all dry, I made up a little scarf. This is just a piece of rag, and I've rolled it up and then tied it so it doesn't come apart. So to attach the rag, I decided to pull it tight and then put a stitch through it just to keep it in place. And I then added a button to make it look a little bit more interesting. I then added these plastic caps with some small screws to the base, just to raise the base off of whatever surface it was on. And that was it all complete. So I really liked the way it turned out in the end. I think it looks really cool. It took quite a while to make, but I think it was worth it in the end. If you'd like to make a simpler version, I'll leave a link to a video below of the ones that you see there on the right, and they are much easier to make than this one. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more videos if you haven't already. And as always, thank you for watching, and I wish you a very Merry Christmas.